I keep forgetting we're not in love anymore. I keep forgetting things will never be the same again. I keep forgetting how you made that so clear. I keep forgetting every time you're near.
Hey, welcome to Hear Me This Book with Steve Rannazzisi. I am your host, Steve Rannazzisi. Thank you for joining me again, episode 2 of the podcast. I want to take a sec to thank all of you who took time to rate and review the podcast on the various places you listen to it. I truly appreciated it. It really helped building traction, getting up some of the charts and, getting more eyes on it. So that was really cool. My artwork is not final yet. I know it looks a little like just kind of put together. We're still working on something kind of cool. So I'm doing that too. I know people were not psyched that it was truly like an original, episode because, Bird had put it up on his and he had kindly given me the audio. But I wanted everyone to hear sort of how this whole thing came about and, why I've taken some time to kind of figure it out and do it correctly. So All Things Comedy's been really wonderful. So I want to thank them. And we're going to have original guests going forward from here on out. And my first one is Mark Duplass. And most of you know Mark, because of the League. You listen to this podcast because of me. And he played Pete on the League for the 7 seasons we did the show together. But Mark is a filmmaker, and he's a producer, and he's a writer, and he's a director. And his brother and Jay and him have made movies for over 20 years now. They've been to all the festivals, and they just are true creative artists who have original ideas and are great storytellers. And Mark is one of the smartest dudes I know. And when I asked him to do the podcast, he was like, absolutely. And he's a tremendous reader. Every time on set I would ever see him, he was never really idle. He would always be either reading something on his phone, a script or whatever, or reading a book. And so I knew that he would have, a great idea for a book. And he gave me some ideas, and we kind of talked about him, and you'll hear that in the podcast of which book he should do. And then he's like, I think I want to do The Notebook. And it sounds so silly, but it's kind of a fun, way into most people know the story of The Notebook, but this is sort of a fun way into the mindset of someone who would just sit down and read The Notebook. Mark's a genius. I love him. And his family. And this is different than the first one. Obviously, we're not drunk or stoned or anything. We did it in the daytime in Mark's office. And we're dads, so day drunk is not always a possibility. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm just saying it's not always going to be. We're not going to be able to do it all the time. So we're stone sober, talking about The Notebook. Just 2 men in their almost 40s. And, being sensitive with one another. It's a real fun episode. You're not going to learn anything about the actual, story from beginning to end. We kind of go off on some great tangents, but that's what this thing's going to be about. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Mark Duplass and The Notebook. There's something about The Notebook that you find controversial.
Exactly. Yeah,
we could just do it like
very
that.
Political.
I've done 14.
Okay.
And none of them. Some of the books have been hysterical. The guest just tells me funny stories about their lives, and then some of them have been like dark places.
Okay.
People have
You're
been
all over the place. Yeah.
So it's never been a thing where it's like straight
you're
down
not
the middle.
You're not in control of the tone, and you just let it be.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'm interested mostly in, because the list of the books that you gave me, I saw you reading Infinite Jest.
I was on set like season 6 or something.
Quietly sitting there by yourself, reading that book. And to me, it looked like a daunting task. I don't know how in between takes you could read a book.
Look, it's a big book. There are a lot of footnotes in it. I think what I was doing is, while the League was hitting its intellectual low point, which I would say is late season 6. I was trying to find something really hoity-toity to counterbalance that and make myself feel really smart. And also I was trying to honestly get the goddamn phone out of my hands, because I think somewhere in the editorial dungeon of the League, there's a lot of footage of us before the takes. And I want to see how long we were on our phones before Jeff yelled action. And I think it's less than a second.
I would argue to say that after he yelled action, there were many takes where
it was
the slant away and then in the pocket, and then you're in the scene. Do you think that affected us? I'm sure.
I think it did.
Especially the way we worked, that we were sort of in the moment at all times, and then to take ourselves out of it. But yeah, I know. But you sat there and you read to me.
I did. I went for Infinite Jest.
And I mean, scripts, that's like sort of work on the side. I can see doing that. But like to sit there and read Infinite Jest, you must have. That's a lot.
I really needed something then. I was really going for it. But yeah, I think also like there's some shit that happens to you as a dad where you stop reading completely because, well, you never read, so it doesn't really matter. But like I stopped reading completely for the 5 or 6 years that was required to keep my children from falling down the stairs and dying. And then that was also around the time where I was like, oh God, my youngest is now 4 and I can pick up a book again. And this is just the most exciting thing in the world. Yeah,
for an hour, at least an hour a day, you don't have to worry about like making sure they're safe or anything like that. You can sit there and have that time allotted to yourself.
They'll fall down, but they won't die.
Growing up, were you a tremendous reader throughout your childhood?
No, I wasn't like that kid who was like nose buried in the book kind of thing, but I did have a really great experience reading because my dad didn't do a very good job cleaning out or curating the library in our house, and so there were a lot of really grown-up books really low on the shelves, which I know better now to like
put those up.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead and just like, I'm going to put the Charles Manson bio like above 4 feet. Just in case, you know?
Yeah.
But I got Helter Skelter when I was like 7 years old.
I don't even know what that is.
That's the story of Charles Manson and all the people he murdered. But more importantly, what you remember as a 7-year-old when you're reading Helter Skelter is that what they would often do is they would sneak into people's houses and hide underneath their beds.
Oh my God.
And worse than getting up and murdering them in the middle of the night, they would just stay there all night and just kind of observe.
You read that at 7 years old?
And I read that and I was like,
how did you sleep?
Well, I didn't. And I made Jay sleep with me in the same bed until I was about 11 years old.
Was he? Did you hand him the book and be like, dude, you got to read? Like, this is what's going on.
We shared everything. Yeah, we shared everything.
Sneaking under people's beds.
And I did. I actually, now that I think about it, I made Jay sleep with me until I was like 11, until he was, I think, 15. Because I read that. I read even Jaws is a terrifying read. You know, with all the shark stuff. Deliverance was a wonderful read for me at about 8 years old.
My mom read it. I remember her reading it, and I remember picking it up on a vacation and reading like a chapter and being like, this is scary, and like this is fun for you.
It still works as a scary book.
Does it really? I mean, I've seen the 100%, movie, but yeah,
it's goddamn terrifying.
Creepy clowns are always just a strange thing.
They always work. So I was like not like a voracious reader, like, oh, books are my only world and I don't communicate with the outside world, but I was into it. And then I think like once I got to high school and stuff, there was that era of just like, everything is required reading, and I'm not too psyched about this.
Yeah,
and everything
so you just read in high school. You read the required reading and
Wuthering
nothing beyond
Heights.
that.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
I got them all. And then I think once I got to like college and post college, I got into more of that elective reading thing. That's like, oh yeah, this is gonna like enrich my life.
Yeah. And you needed Infinite Jest towards the end of the League, and I understand why.
I really
you needed a little more class in your life.
And by the way, like it took me 4 times to read Infinite Jest. Like everybody has a couple of Infinite Jest failures, and it's okay. Nobody likes to talk about it, but you read 100 pages and you realize, oh, there's no way I'm going to make it through.
What makes it so difficult? Is it wordy?
All right,
is it
so it's an 1,100 page book, but about 250 to 300 of those pages are footnotes. In particular, there's one footnote that goes on for over 100 pages.
What?
So you need 2 bookmarks when you're reading Infinite Jest. You have the page that you're on, and then you have the section of the bookmarks
for the
page
notes
in the back of it. And once you hit that first footnote, it's the equivalent of like hitting Heartbreak Hill in a marathon, but at like mile 3. And while you're not specifically tired, you know
there's 24
more of these coming, and there's no way I'm going to make it, and so it demoralizes you and it puts you out of it. So I had 3 failed attempts at Infinite Jest, but all the people that I just know and respect were like, when you get through this thing, it will be worth it. You just got to dig in and stick in.
Did you feel that way when you finished
And
it?
I did. It's probably my overall favorite book, and there's just a way that they look at recovery in that book that is, it's just incredible. I haven't seen anything like it before. So it's worth it, but I would say if you want to read Infinite Jest, offer yourself at least 2 to 3 fails and don't feel bad about it.
Have you ever failed reading another book? Have you ever started a book and been like, I'm good. I'm not reading this?
A friend of mine read Moby Dick over the course of 2.5 years on the toilet. He just was like, I'm going to read 8 to 10 pages every day, and I'm going to get through it. And I thought that was the most brilliant idea, and I still couldn't do it. And I think it was just too much. And
you did it just trying it on the toilet?
On the toilet, yeah. It was just too much water. Just like water everywhere. And I was like, oh, there's a whale. The Moby Dick thing was too much for me. I tried. Ulysses is the James Joyce book. That's like the most difficult, complex book of all time. And them people's talk funny. You know? When it's like old-timey stuff and they talk weird, I don't connect.
Yeah, you're like, this is not something.
I'm out.
Yeah. I find like if you're interested in the theme or there's some sort of, there's something in it that holds you, but if you're not, the language, if there's a language barrier in the way they talk and you got to go, like, my thing is I don't want to go back and read 5 pages back because I don't remember the reference to what they're talking about.
100%. I mean, there's also like those books by Elena Ferrante, the Neapolitan novels. There's like 4 of them, My Brilliant Friend. And those are supposed to be like pretty easily accessible, but I look at them and the first page is a family tree that goes back 5 generations, and I got to memorize who is whose aunt and uncle, and I'm just like,
yeah, you know, who wants to do, like,
you got to realize that Netflix is out there and you're competing with this.
That's the thing.
And you got to do something. You got to make it easier on me.
And they get it done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's real quick. Most of the time it's done in 2 hours. If you go on a vacation, do you have like, all right, this is a vacation style book that I'm going to read this kind of piece on vacation?
Yeah, I mean, Katie and I every now and then will go on like a grown-up vacation, in which case I'll just bring whatever book I want and it's fine. But if it's like a family vacation and I know I'm going to get limited reading time and it's going to be heavily interrupted with dad playtime stuff, I have a series of books that I call the elevated beach reads, which are like the equivalent of like a really good popcorn movie, like not just like a regular popcorn movie, but it's got something to offer, you know? And there are a lot of books like that. There was a book called The Goldfinch that came out a couple of years ago. It's really great. It is a beach read. It's page turning. It's fun, but it's got history in it and it's interesting. There's a book called Beautiful Ruins that does that same thing. So I try to identify the book that's like, I don't know, the cultural equivalent of watching like Arrival or something like that, where it's like, yes,
I'm be
it's a big studio popcorn movie, but like, hey, there's some thought in this. That's not so bad.
Yeah, those are good beach books to read. Yeah. Have you ever gone back and, like, I know you said you read Infinite Jest at the end of the league, but have you ever gone back and be like, oh, I need this, I need to reread this because this makes me feel a certain way, or this puts me in a certain, gets me out of a certain mood or whatever?
100%. I am like as a nostalgic a person as it comes, and so like, yeah, I have playlists on my phone of songs that I need to revisit so I can feel a certain way, and usually those are successful with music. But books, I find I'm rarely successful going back, rereading, and getting the juice out of them that I got out of them when I first read them. Like when I read The World According to Garp when I was 15, like my first John Irving book, I was just like, this is the epitome of intellectual writing and storytelling, and how he does this is amazing. And I went back to reread it like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and it's just interesting. I'm a writer now and I kind of understand structure, and I just see
holes,
I see all the strings and all the machinations, and it's manipulative, and he pulls, and it's still good because I'm attached to who I was when I first read it, but it's definitely not the thing, you know? So a lot of times when I'm talking about books with people, or even movies too, they'll be like, well, what's your favorite book of all time? And I'm like, I have to have two categories. I need empirical book, and then I need reading experience.
What makes me happy while reading it?
Yeah, or also what moved me the most for who I was at the time. You know, and so like for me, like peak, you will never top Where the Red Fern Grows when I was 10 years old. Like what that did to me when he took those dogs away from me. Spoilers.
I read that when I was a kid.
You read it?
Yeah.
You read
I don't
a
remember
book?
it, but yes, I did read
Remember, there were
Bridge to
dogs in it.
Terabithia, Where the Red Fern Grows,
Yeah.
Animal Farm. I got some required stuff done.
Great.
Symbolism, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah. So yeah.
But Where the Red Fern
peak
Grows.
reading experience, you know? Like movies, when I saw Titanic in the movie theater, I'll never emote like that.
I saw it 3 times in the movie theater.
I cried so fucking hard, and I'm ashamed of it. I mean, you watch that movie now, the movie's not great.
Have you
watched it?
Here's how I watch it now when it's on like TNT. But
Yeah.
it's like 6 hours on TNT, and I never can get through the whole thing, and they break it up. I bet you if you sat down and you watched it straight through, no commercials, you'd definitely find some serious holes.
Yeah, you would find serious holes, and I think that it would not do nearly what it did for you at the time. So, yeah, for me, like, there have been books. There have been times I have read things. I remember when I was 27, so I guess, we hadn't started the league yet. I had just made the puffy chair. I just shot it, and I had a feeling it was going to like do something for my career, but I was still playing in bands at the time, and I was like, oh, am I going to be a musician? Am I going to be a filmmaker? What am I going to be? And I had a long bus ride back from Maine to New York City, and I was staying with Katie's sister, and I was like, I need to grab a book before I leave. And like the only thing they had that wasn't like just something really political that I was not interested in was Bridges of Madison County. And so I was like, everybody reads this book. Everybody loves it. Try out this book, And I sat on that bus and I fucking cried my eyes out
Did you really?
The whole way back. Because like the big message in the book is this type of certainty comes but once in a lifetime. And it's about fate and it's about destiny and which road are you choosing. And because of that book, I was like, I am giving up my life as a musician because I want to be a filmmaker and stay closer to Katie, who I'm eventually going to marry, which was true, and my brother, who I was close with. And like, I kind of owe my entire film career
to the Bridges of Madison County
on the Greyhound bus headed down I-95.
That really, I mean, that's what you took away from it.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to make a decision. I have to kind of shit or get off the pot. Which way am I going to go?
And
fate makes
and it worked for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Bridges of Madison County.
Bridges of Madison County, baby.
And you cried.
I mean, but that's,
I only saw the movie.
You and I have always had a little bit of an issue with that. So it's not.
We get emotional.
Yeah.
Which is why when you told me this is the book that you wanted to do was The Notebook, it makes a little sense to me because I know you and we are emotional people. But I for all the books that you've read and, all the stuff that you've written, I'm like, wow, this is something that I wasn't expecting you to choose.
It was a gut reaction. I didn't check it. I'm probably going to regret it later. But if I'm being totally honest, I think it's the most like deeply linked to who I am in my core. And I talked a little bit about being a nostalgic person before. But that crying thing that you and I have talked about through the years or shared, I think it's hooked into just a deep romanticism, and I know I can speak for me. I won't speak for you, but like I found out early on that like if I was funny and a little sarcastic, I would win, right? Like they liked my art if I did that.
Yep.
And like you get up on stage and you make people laugh and like you get a little like funny and sarcastic and even cynical sometimes and like the audiences dig you and they think you're smart and everything. So I just went that way because that's what made me win. But like me as an 8 or 9-year-old kid, I'm at home crying in front of Same Time Next Year, Starman, Somewhere in Time, all the great romantic movies and books. And I picked up The Notebook as a joke when I was on tour one time. I was like, oh, this will just be funny, And it just ripped me in half. And I don't know what it is. My senses come down, everything, and I'm like, this is more me than anything else I'm doing.
Well, I can honestly say, I mean, I've never read the book, but I saw the movie, and I don't know if you read it before you saw the movie.
I read the book first, then saw the movie.
I mean, the movie, I cried throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
The ending is buckling to me. So I can't imagine, and I'm going to assume that the book is probably better than the movie.
It's pretty great. The book is able to attenuate the mystery of whether this is actually her husband, Noah, who she really should be with, or the James Marsden dude whose name I can't remember. And
I know.
I remember in the movie, you're watching it and you're like, well, Gosling was on the cover, so I'm pretty sure that's who got it. In the book, you're like, which way did she go? Like halfway through the book, you don't know
really
whether she's going to end up with Noah or the other guy. And maybe it's because it was my first Nicholas Sparks book. Maybe if you've read another one, you're like, oh, I know where this is headed. But the mystery of that. So I was emotionally engaged in a level of like watching the Super Bowl and pulling for my team. I was like, if Noah doesn't get the girl.
So you were Team Noah.
I was Team Noah all the way, man.
Do you think there were people that were Team James Marsden's guy?
Not for the, well, I don't know.
Who would read that book? I mean, you assume like probably a romantic person would read that book and obviously want the Gosling guy or Noah to get the girl. But I wonder if there are people that are like, why didn't she just choose a logical choice and a safe play? And there's nothing wrong with that.
By the way, this shows you my perspective. I never considered that was even a possibility because of the romantic nature of who I am. But you're probably right. I'm sure there are some people, particularly some like post-World War II people who are just like, hey, good guy, nice looking suit. It probably smells great. Put some food on your table.
My father-in-law would have been like, she just been the safe choice, and that's it. All this other nonsense she has to put herself through. There are people that may have like seen that, but not.
When Gosling gets rained on in that white shirt and you see through everything, he got ripped for that movie too. By the way,
well, I think he knew that was like, this is like a. Wait, Kevin Connolly wasn't the other guy, right?
He wasn't even Gosling. He was like just some guy. And he became Ryan Gosling in that movie. Yeah.
That's what made him Ryan Gosling, right?
I think so. He was in like Murder by Numbers with Sandra Bullock before that, but I don't think he had been.
No, that was like that was natural charisma.
Yeah,
and
the other
blinding.
guy was Marsden, but Kevin Connolly is in there somewhere.
Yeah, he was like his best friend. Like they were like war buddies, I thought, or something.
I think he's wearing like a really bad newspaper boy hat, if I remember correctly.
Connolly, yeah,
I think so.
In the book, how do they handle? Do they ever tip the cap that what is going to happen towards the end of the book as the story goes along? So I can't remember the movie. Do they ever have flashbacks early on that you know where it's heading to?
The book does a much better job keeping the mystery of where you think you're going and who might the man be that she ultimately ends up with. So so the book does that a little bit better. But the truth is, none of that fucking shit matters because you're in the middle of this love triangle, and at the core of this book is this really corny, really cheesy, but very primal thing of, am I following my heart or am I following my head? And I think that's why that movie was something that you and I could connect to, or that book, and then what, like, you know, an 89-year-old woman who reads this like gets into it, you know. And it's weird because I just made this movie Blue Jay with me and Sarah
Paulson, which was awesome, by the way.
Thanks, man.
Beautiful.
And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make this like black and white, kind of like raw indie movie, and it's gonna have all this like integrity. And I was doing all my like highfalutin indie filmmaker talk, and then like while I was shooting the movie, I like lay down and hit the pillow, and I was like, oh, I think I'm just making The Notebook in black and white. Like, I think,
is that what you were holding yourself to the stand? If you're thinking about that, you're like, oh man, is this The Notebook? I honestly, can I get there?
And then I went back to set the next day, and I was like, okay, guys, I realized something last night. And to my earlier point of like, there's a beach read and there's an elevated beach read. I was like, there's a lot of Notebook going on here. Let's just try to be elevated Notebook. Let's just do our best.
That's a great angle.
But then at the end of the day, I was just like, it was, I mean, legitimately, I came off of that movie and I was like, this is the most me I've felt as an artist in probably like 10 years.
Oh, awesome.
And I love Cyrus, and I love those movies that I made that have that kind of dark, cringeworthy humor. And I'm so interested in that. And I feel like Jay and I have gotten good at expressing that. And I love them. But in terms of like a pure, like just vomiting of myself into a piece of art, it's all It's all Blue Jay, and it's all tied to the Notebook.
Yeah, I mean, what got us in the door, the sarcasm, the charm, this and that, it's still there, but we can kind of become more comfortable with who we are.
I'm ready to cheese out. I'm 40, dude.
I've seen grown men on planes reading a book, right? And then you could just see, you'll look over, and then they'll close it for a second, and they'll just have that moment where you could tell, like, they're going to cry, or that something's happening in that book that is making them well up with emotion. Now,
and they're not going to do it from seat 19B.
No,
and they're going to hold it in. They're going to wait.
They're in a suit and they're on their way to Denver for a conference, and this is not who they are.
This is not.
But deep down inside, it might be who they can be if they just let themselves go a little bit.
That's kind of where I'm headed right now. I'll have you all know right now that we're sitting on the 3rd floor of my office,
which is lovely, by the way,
Highland Park. But just to Steve Rannazzisi's 4 o'clock is an area that I'm calling my regression chamber, which has a newly refurbished Nintendo system.
Oh, that is sick.
I bought a VCR and a lot of like used VHS tapes off of eBay.
Where'd you find a VCR?
You can get them off of eBay. They're like $20.
Yeah, you can't go to like Best Buy and get a VCR.
No, they don't make them anymore. And I bought like a stack of like 100 VHS tapes. There are 2 copies of Soul Man in here if you want one of them. By the way. Yeah. But it was tied to the Notebook. My belief that yes, it's fun to go back and watch one of your old favorite movies like Valley Girl or something like that on iTunes, and now it's widescreen and digital and perfect. But when you put in the VHS that like has some fuzz on it and the wheels turn a little slowly and the sound warps a little bit, and you watch it on a old tube TV, which I found off of Craigslist, by the way.
It's probably a 32-inch.
It is. It's a 32.
Big tube in the back.
Which is free on any Craigslist, by the way. Everybody's just giving them away because nobody wants them.
They're huge and they weigh a lot.
If you watch like the Notebook on that TV, it's such a difference from watching it like on your laptop or something.
Yeah.
So
this is your regression corner.
It's a chamber, regression chamber. and I come up here. And I like.
Did you curate those VHS tapes, or it was just a box of
I got 4 separate lots, if I'm being honest, and yes, it's some really fun stuff. Like I got some old Terminators in there and everything, but a lot of it is towards my bent of. I mean, I have the Notebook in there. It's in there. I'm going to be honest.
Have you ever read a book that you're like, I got to make this into, or this has not been made into the proper movie. I have to make this into the proper movie. Or like no one's seen this yet. I need to talk to whoever wrote this book.
Yeah, we have had those thoughts for sure. The first one that like hit me really hard, honestly, was Infinite Jest. I was like, oh my God, if there's a way to make a movie out of this.
Has anyone ever tried?
It would be incredible. No one has tried. I think Mike Schur has the rights, who created The Office. But it's practically impossible to make a movie out of it. It's so long, and you could make a miniseries out of just the footnotes if you're interested. And then I'm trying to think of the other ones that if we really chase things through the year. I have this weird thing where when something is really, really good and meaningful to me as a viewer, I kind of don't want to go near it as a filmmaker. Because I don't know if you feel this at all, but I feel like the older I get as an artist and a maker of shit, like the more precious my viewing experiences come to me when they're really work. Because either I see through the lines on things and how they're made, or I don't know, you just become more, not cynical, but just harder to be wowed like you were when you were 7.
Yeah.
You know? And when something hits me now, like Moonlight hit me this year, you know, like the way that hit me, it just knocked me out, and it was a great experience. And so
I feel that way with stand up.
Yeah.
I do.
Like, I don't want to touch it. I just want to be a fan.
I get to do that because most stand-ups, when you watch Chris Rock, I'm not going to go over to him and give him a tag after. I don't have to get involved with it. I can just watch it as a fan.
Yeah.
But you do, as you get older, there's nothing that's ever going to hit me like Chappelle's first special, or like even when I see Chappelle now and his new stuff, it doesn't have the same sort of feeling that it did when I was 20 years old.
You gave me Bill Burr. I didn't know Bill until I was in my late 30s, and you gave me one of those Netflix specials you sent me with it, and I remember it, and I was like, all right, I'll check it out. This is Steve's buddy, and I was just like, nobody is honest like this.
No.
I mean, maybe to a fault, but like, God, I love that guy.
By the way, his new special just came out on Thursday, the 31st.
Really?
He did it at the Ryman in Nashville. Just check it out. I think it's called Walk Your Way Out of Here or something like that.
I love that guy, man.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's I guess you just go, okay, that's a beautiful piece of art, and that I just can enjoy it. I don't have to get into it.
That's what I'm looking for, and I'm having a harder time these days finding that as a film viewer. I feel like I've seen kind of all the great movies that are out there, and then I'm looking for new great ones each year. And same thing with TV series. There's a lot out there, and I surf around, but I don't really get moved by it. And where I'm actually headed lately is books, and that's where I'm getting it from, because I'm relatively uneducated on what the great books are. You show up to movies, you look at the AFI top 100 movies of all time. I've seen all of them.
Yep.
You look at the top 100 books of all time.
You probably read them all.
No, I haven't yet.
Oh,
I've
really?
only read 50% of them. So I'm still a little bit of a kid in the book realm, so I can get a lot of those great, experiences left still, and I've just been reading sci-fi books lately, which I was never into and was always judgmental.
I know.
And they have all these incredible books, and so I'll go to guys and be like, what's your favorite book? And I get to read the relative Godfather or Jaws or Rocky of the sci-fi world because I'm new to it.
Do you and your brother pass them back and forth, or who do you go to for references for books? I got to read this.
I usually go to people who are majorly in the middle of it. Like Neil Gaiman is the sci-fi and graphic novel writer, and I just go straight at him. And then I have music friends, like my friend Maggie is my music supervisor, and so I'm just I'm fucking old. I don't know what's going on. Will you send me 10 cool bands?
That's what I do at the Comedy Store.
I need it.
My buddy Nick Youssef just knows every band that comes out and which ones, when the Coachella poster comes out,
God bless
he knows
him.
the ones at the bottom.
Yeah.
The one, I know the first 7 or 8
the band list is like the eye chart when you go.
Yeah, it gets smaller and smaller,
at the
but
bottom.
he knows all the ones at the bottom, so he'll just constantly send me some
They
music.
don't realize
and
how
stuff.
valuable they are. They could be I would pay $20 for a curated playlist from those people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But thank God we're friends with them.
Yeah.
Didn't you adapt a book into something, or did you try?
I've done a couple of things. There was a time where I thought I was going to be I want to be a big Hollywood screenwriter, and so I've done 3 or 4 different books through the years for studios, and
did they give you those books, or were they like, here, can you do this, or is it something that
usually it was a job that they were going out looking for a writer, and I would pitch on it and try to get the job, and that stuff's really, really fun, and I've done a lot of that. But I mean, as you know, just only 1 out of 30 things that gets hired or developed gets actually made into a movie. So at a certain point, you do get a little frustrated where you're just well, I made good money, it was great, but we all just talked about making a movie for a year, and then nothing happened. You know?
Yeah.
So I kind of ended up moving out of that game, and quite frankly realized that all false modesty aside, what I am good at is actually not taking a book and making it into something that will make $100 million at the box office. For better or for worse, my taste level is a little bit different than that. And if I was being totally honest, I'd be I will be bad for your movie because I will probably do things to it that will make it
not a
less able to go out that wide.
Commercial movie, yeah.
It's just the reality of it. And so I've kind of resolved lately of I think what I'm going to do is make a ton of really little specific things, exactly how I want to make them, for Netflix and HBO, little TV shows, little movies. And then maybe 1 out of 20, one of them will randomly become popular for some zeitgeistian reason that I don't understand. But the only times I've now messed something up that I really wanted to make, it was because I was curating it to be bigger than it should have been.
Trying to make it
I
more
was
than
trying to make it something else.
Yep.
So now I'm just fuck it. I'm gonna stay. I got this little corner of the sandbox over here.
You do what you love. This is what you want.
Go do my weird little things, and then maybe. I mean, it was so heartening for me this year seeing what Moonlight has become. It's just this.
What did they make that movie for? A couple $100,000?
I mean, they could have. They probably made it for about $1 million. But the key to Moonlight for me is just nobody wanted to make it because there are no stars in it, and it's about the life and story of a young gay black male and all of his feelings.
Yeah, but it's so simple.
The least commercial movie possible, and it's blowing up.
Because even if you're a person that doesn't, my dad would not enjoy those movies, but it's the simplicity of the story. It's broken down into 3 specific moments in this guy's life. You don't really feel like you missed that much. You kind of figure out where he is at a certain point. So beautiful story of love the entire time. And yeah, I guess for $1 million, someone goes, yeah, I can do that now.
Yeah,
I can make that movie.
It's crazy. And the best part about Moonlight is that now when people want to give me money for movies and I'm like, hey, I want to make this movie. And they're like, yeah, but there are no real stars in it. And I don't know if it's real. And I'm like, yeah, but Moonlight. That's all I have to say now.
Yeah.
So that's what I do all year long.
Speaking of love, getting back to the end of The Notebook, because that to me, there's levels of love. And we do, for better or worse, we did our vows. Mm-hmm. Your wife is one of the greatest people I know. Is that sort of love unimaginable to you when you first read it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I have an example of the greatest love affair of all time in my life, which is Katie's grandparents. They were together for 72 years.
72 years?
Yes.
They were married for 72 years? I heard that's why Nicholas Sparks wrote The Notebook, because his wife's parents or grandparents were married for like 64 years. Yeah.
Okay, so he had the exact same experience that I had. And I got to be around them and watch them operate from when I met Katie when I was 24 years old, which is about the most cynical point in my life. I'm an independent musician. I'm living in New York City. I'm in my Brooklyn apartment, and I'm watching what they have done and built. They have, 4 kids, 8 grandkids, 16 great grandkids, the whole shebang. And she walks by him and he still pinches her on the ass. Yeah. And I'm like, this has to be fake. It's not possible to sustain this. And then I realized that it wasn't an either or. It wasn't that A, they just got so lucky to have found each other that it was perfect and easy, or B, they're faking it. It was right up the middle. And they did something, and it's got a terrible name, but I really believe in this. They were a fake it till you make it couple. And that's how they sustained it. I think that 95% of their love was genuine and real. But when the other 5%, when it wasn't working, what I would watch them do is they would just use that positive momentum to sustain themselves. And even if he didn't really want to grab her ass in that moment, he would do it, and it would boost her confidence and his love for her. So then she'd be a little bit nicer to him. And then they would just bring them right back up to speed again.
Until they got it. Until they got it back feelings again. Of that joy.
And they
again.
literally would maintain that level through never letting themselves dip so far. They would fake it in those moments and pull it back up. And it's the greatest lesson I've ever learned. And have an incredibly great relationship with Katie, and we talk about it all the time. And I think the key to our success of keeping it going is like, we don't let it dip too hard. And even if it starts to dip and we're like, I don't really want to be around you and you don't really want to be around me, it's like, well, let's just sit next to each other and listen to this song we both like. Let's create the lowest common denominator of connection and try and create a piece of bread and build us a new fucking sandwich.
That's a great way to think about it, because it is. I mean, look, I'm on the road on the weekends, and getting back on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays we call it re-entry.
Yeah,
where it's sort of we're living on our own little islands for the 2, 3, or 4 days I'm gone, where we have to survive on our own.
Yep.
And she has to keep the kids alive and functioning, and I've got to make people laugh at night and do press during the day, and then it's almost like you survive on your own, and then coming back together. The re-entry can be tricky. It can be, sometimes I walk in the door and it's like, hey, what's up? We missed you so much. And then sometimes it's like, I'm on my way out, and it's the pinching of the ass thing. No matter what you feel, we still we kiss each other when I come home. We have to still have that moment, even if it's manufactured,
dude,
of hey, I missed you and I love you. And regardless of how you feel right now, not about me, but about everything, we just got to make sure that I know that and you know that. It's important.
I'm a big believer in it, and if I had told that to my 16-year-old self who had just read The Notebook, my 16-year-old self would be like, bullshit, man. That Noah and Allie didn't need to do that. Noah and Allie were perfect and they were great for each other, but now I kind of realize, I'm like, oh, I think that's, at least from my knowledge and what I've experienced, the most you can hope for. That you've got 90 to 95% of it going for you, and then you can just rev the rest of the shit up with a little bit of
juice,
little goosies, get it in there, Coke on the battery every now and then to just like get it going. But I mean, dude, I will say that I have a lot of friends right now that are single for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's just like I'm in a community of artists that like find themselves later, and so they don't find love as early as they used to. But I'm around a lot of late 30s and early 40s single people.
Me too. I'm a comedian.
Yeah, you're a comedian
all the time.
You're in it, and I don't ever want to make any judgments. My thing is like, I want to listen. I want to hear what's happening to you. But the bulk of the thing that I hear like over and over again is an extreme lack of patience and long game in most of the dating scenarios I hear a lot of punting out of the realm of who my person could be because of A, B, C, or D. Like I had a musician friend of mine once tell me that he had to break up with his girlfriend because she said Andrew Lloyd Webber was a genius. And he was like, I can never be with someone. That's endemic of a massive personality flaw. And I was just like, you're fucked.
Yeah, man.
Because you're going to die alone. Congratulations.
Yeah. If it's not Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's going to be something else later.
And I was a little offended because, by the way, I don't mind him.
Who doesn't like what's the one with the mask? The guy
He's great. Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera. I've never seen that, but I'm sure it's
fantastic.
Didn't Cats?
There might
Cats
even be a book.
Andrew Lloyd Webber, isn't he?
Yeah, old Cats, baby.
Now it's back on Broadway.
After all these years.
Thank God. They brought it. I mean, it was not even that long gone. Like, that was a serious demand to bring Cats back.
It
was on Broadway for like 40 years. They took it off for like a year and a half, and people fucking demanded it. Yeah, they were like, we need Cats back. Like, badly. Well, at the Winter Garden Theater. I don't even know if it's there, but that's where it was for 40 years.
I think what that is if you're a 47-year-old dad who's a mid-level manager from somewhere in Indiana, and you finally gotten the chance to bring your family to New York and show them that you can provide, and this is a cultured experience for my family. Cats is the lowest common denominator that you can take them to that everyone's going to work out.
Everyone's going to enjoy Cats,
and that means that show's going to run forever.
Yeah.
It's a beach read.
It really is. It's the beach read of musicals.
Yeah.
We have tougher lives. I don't know if tougher for relationships to keep the love at the level that we want to be successful with, because our schedules are so crazy. I wonder if it's like Katie's grandparents that I don't know. Did they have the kind of jobs where they saw each other every day, and I feel like a continuity and some sort of regular thing is important for love. I feel like if you are able to kind of have a pattern down, you can get through it. It makes things easier the harder times. Whereas for us, it's a little different.
I give you that mostly just because of my own experience has been times where I'm really far apart, where I'm away making a movie, or times where I'm home. And obviously, when I'm home, it goes significantly better. In the case of Katie's grandparents, when I watch them, they always were together. They ran a nursery together out of their home, and they took care of young children for 30 years. Then when they were done with that, they retired, and they started an antiquing business where they would go buy antiques, fix them up, travel around to shows. They were always
doing things together.
Always together. And so whether it's a rhythm or whether it's a schedule, I kind of made a decision this year where I was like, all right, the league is wrapped and togetherness is not happening anymore. So technically, I don't have to be on set in that sort of 12 to 13 hour day that we used to do in the league. That's like not super humane for family environments.
Not the best, no.
And Katie's doing the show Legion for 3 months of the year in Vancouver, and so I'm kind of like, I'm not going to take a set job. I'm gonna like write and produce, and I'll act in a couple of little things here and there, but if they're close to home, and the more I am home at 5 o'clock for dinner with my kids. And now they're like 9 and almost 5, so it's board game time now.
Mm-hmm. We do cards after dinner.
Oh, dude, cards are we're going to keep families together.
Mm-hmm. And Jackson and I are learning how to play chess. I don't know how to play chess.
Oh, this is great.
So
he's going to destroy you.
Yes, we're starting at the same level.
Oh, this is so great.
So this is like a science project because I think his brain is working at a much higher like functioning level than mine.
We always knew this. But dude, I have some friends who I asked them. This one friend of mine. She's really close with her parents, and I was like, "What's the key?" She's like, "Every night after dinner, we played cards on my parents' bed, and we hung out. We did that for like a half hour to an hour." And her analysis of it is like, this was a way for me to have conversations about my life and what I was doing from when I was age of like 12 and 13, when you don't look your parents in the eye and talk about stuff. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at the cards and you're playing, it kind of spills out at you loosely, and you get that time together. It's like I did that with my dad. We had a moment where like I realized he was a Republican and I was a Democrat when I was like 16. I was like, I don't like this guy anymore.
Really?
And then we didn't know how to communicate.
That's young to
we had been really close.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did is every day after school, We played 4 out of 7 ping pong, 4 out of 7 in pool. And we wanted to be together. We loved each other. We just couldn't really talk about stuff.
Yep.
So we would just be next to each other, listen to music, and play games.
Like the way you and Katie do it now.
Yeah.
If you aren't feeling that, you just go, we're going to end up just going to be in the same room. We're going to be in the same physical space.
We love this record. We're going to sit next to each other. And you
can get your aggression out by trying to beat each other at ping pong.
Yeah.
You know? But
exactly.
still, the point is just being there and being together.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's that Catholic shit in you and me that's just like, or we have parents that are together and gave us an example of that for whatever reason. But like, I read these blogs and stuff that are about like the nature of look, I'm not making a grand sweeping statement, but there are these blogs of divorce regret where people get on there and they're just like,
I wish I
it's
had stuck
so
it out.
much fucking worse after all this is done. And now I realize like these were some pretty big endemic problems, but if I had gotten my expectations to a place and really dug in, maybe I could have made this work.
I just listened to Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
And sat there.
If I had sat there and
you
said, hey, we're going to Cats.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fucking talk to you because I hate you. But Mr. Mistopheles,
we're going to build a relationship.
we're going to build something up with Mr. Mistopheles.
Speaking of that, though, and this is terrible, and but have you and Katie ever talked about, because Tracy and I have, about like the end?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because I think about the end of The Notebook, and just first of all, dementia scares me more than anything. It's in my family. I don't know. I just physically being there and having no mental capacity to understand or remember, or it sounds like the literal worst nightmare scenario for ending my life. So, I mean, Tracy and I have talked about like what would be if, obviously if we got sick or whatever, but things like that. And like just the way The Notebook ends terrifies me, because I feel like I would be a burden. I think you feel as though you would be a burden on the other person, and that you would want to remove yourself from the equation. But you don't know how what being around you or being around me would still make them feel. I
guess there's a silver lining that you probably wouldn't know you're a burden at that moment.
So you wouldn't know anything.
You wouldn't really know a lot. You just be having some pudding and kind of be doing fine. I mean, we haven't really talked about any of that like major health stuff, but the thing that keeps coming up for us, and I guess it's like midlife-y shit because I did just turn 40, is like the people that I know that I'm close with who are older all tell me the same thing, and they're like, it's weird for you right now being 40, looking back and saying like, oh my God, I can't believe it was 25 years ago that I first got my driver's license. It feels like it wasn't even that long ago. And they look me in the eye very sternly and they're like, those 25 years, the way those went by, the next 25 are going to feel like 2. Fuck. And I really believe them. And I am actively trying to figure out ways to slow down and chew on my life before I am worm dirt. And I don't know how to stop it all from hurtling towards my death.
Well, I think by taking some time off this year and being at home, that's a way to be like, I'm pumping the brakes on this. I'm going to enjoy some dinners when I can with my kids while they still want to sit down and have dinner with me. Yeah, you got to eat up those meals, because I can't even imagine. I believe that's 100% true that the next 25 years we're going to be collecting Social Security at 63.
100%. My dad's 71 years old, and he looks at me just like, I feel just like you. Like, I think that I'm 40 years old still, and it just flew. Now, I think there is a little bit of an advantage to our weird, like, aberrational lifestyle with the jobs that we have. We're like, I'm in a different city, and I have these different experiences. Some people who do the same rhythm every day, all day long, sometimes those years, I think, pass a little more quickly for them because the memories kind of blend into each other and they seem similar, So, like, we had our 7 years on the league together, and then it gets a little different. I think those changes can help mark your time and maybe make things, I don't know.
Like bookmarks.
I'm hoping that will give me, a little bit of that. But, I'm doing all these things. I'm creating like a little media log where I write down everything that I watch and I read now, and I see kind of like how it's affected me and what I've learned. And like, just like you said, little roadmaps, little bookmarks that I'm like, okay, maybe if I don't make the rest of my life one huge chapter, but a ton of tiny little chapters, it'll make it feel longer.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Tiny little chapters.
But fuck, man.
I mean,
I'm feeling it.
Really?
Yeah.
How long do you want to, you want to live to 100?
I want to live to be 1,000 fucking years old. I want to be in the Highlander, dude. I want to be the only one.
I don't want to live forever.
Oh, yeah, I guess you don't want to live forever.
I don't want to live forever, but I would like to just slowly just go away very quickly and quietly, and that's it. I can't, the sickness.
Yeah. You were really scared of the sickness.
I really am scared of the sickness.
I will put you down if you want a little something, a little request.
I'm honest. I told Tracy, I said, I can't
just do it.
Of mice and men. Bring me out to the backyard. Hey, Lenny, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I wouldn't mind that. I really wouldn't. I think that would be, and I feel like she'd be down for that.
But what if she gets really mad at you and just does it a little early?
Wait, I just forgot my phone number for a second. Hold on. Yeah, that would be terrible.
You look really confused, Steve. Come in the backyard.
When you saw the movie, by the way, did you? I can't remember his name. God, it's so not
Noah is
older.
The Gosling. James Garner.
I mean,
you know why Garner was so great?
Why did they choose him?
His whole life, he was the tough
guy, right?
Cowboy.
Yeah,
who didn't have time for no dames because I'm out on the prairie and I gotta bring home the bacon and get them bad guys. And he was the softiest softy that ever lived. Once,
and that's all
in
it
the
took.
Notebook, and that's all it took.
All it took.
Oof,
so beautiful.
God, I loved it so much. I might have to go watch this tonight, actually. I
mean, yeah, I cry on planes no matter what the movie is, but if the Notebook was on a plane, I would just probably go out the window.
I mean, forget about it.
Yeah.
If you were to read the Notebook now, like if you're like, okay, now I'm going to go read the Notebook, and you're like, after this discussion and you're prepared, do you feel like, does that enrich the Notebook experience for you at all? Or is it like, oh, you know what? We've already talked it out. I don't need to read this thing. Do you find yourself having desires to read the books that you're talking about?
I have. I'm reading right now. I read Heart of Darkness.
Oh, yeah.
I did that one. That was terrible. Like, yeah, I needed to. It was like,
fast.
Just get it done, 100 pages.
It's quick.
Now I'm reading Ready Player One, which I did that. I don't know if you read that one.
Great.
But yeah,
speculative fiction?
Yes, and we talked about it, but for me it was more like just getting out of the computer age. Like I want to see that angle. So I'm interested in that. But yeah, the Notebook would be tough because the movie, it's so seen
iconic.
It, but I feel like if I sat there and I really wanted to get emotional and
want to get it out,
I would, dive into it.
I would say if you haven't seen Bridges of Madison County, that book is a hell of a read.
You know what? I've never seen the movie. I knew it was like Streisand, right? Or am I thinking of
it's Meryl Streep
on Golden Pond?
And it's Clint Eastwood.
Oh, okay.
And the movie's not great. The book is great.
All right, so maybe I'll read the Bridges of Madison County.
Maybe you go Bridges, and we'll do a round 2, and we'll talk about it.
If anybody out there wants to do Bridges of Madison County with me, please let me know. And I can't. I guess I would read Bridges of Madison County and feel.
I think you would.
I would cry.
As you embark upon your next podcast and your journey with reading, I'll leave you with one little piece of advice that was given to me that I just tried out last week, and I'm really happy I did. I met a dad who had a kid in middle school, and he was having trouble connecting with his kid, and so he decided to read along with his kid all of his assigned high school reading books. And so they were able to like share this stuff. And Aura, my oldest, was reading a book called Wonder that she really loved, and she was like, you should read it. And so now whenever she's done with a book, she passes it to me, and then we read next to each other at night and like share, and she points out all this stuff for me. So as Jackson starts cranking into that in the coming years, it's the best thing I did.
I've never seen the Harry Potter movies, and we're doing the whole thing together right now. We're reading the books and going through it.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the best, you're the best. Thanks for doing this
podcast,
podcast,
good seeing
buddy.
you, man. We miss hanging out.
I know.
I miss pummeling the seat cushion next to yours with farts.
I miss sweating on you.
Yeah.
Sweating on you. Every take I would sweat.
I miss when you got really, really upset because lunch got delayed and you would throw off your microphone and run out of the room like a 4-year-old. I miss that the most.
That was one time I felt really bad about it, but when I'm hungry, get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah. And then we caught you like coming back from lunch as we were heading in, and you're just like looking down and like, sorry guys.
Yeah, that was really unprofessional. Sorry.
It was one of my favorites. It was season 6. I was doing Infinite Jest. We were all doing weird shit.
By the way, if you're listening and you have not seen Blue Jay, it is on Netflix. It is wonderful. Mark is unbelievable in it, and Sarah Paulson.
She's
something special, that lady.
Yes, she is.
She really is.
Yep.
And it was directed by one of the lead...
Alex Lehman, who was
Alex Lehman
one of our lead shooters.
From the league camera department. So check that out. Blue Jay is on Netflix. Thank you very much, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
And if you leave me now, you take away the very heart of me. Ooh, no, baby, please don't go. Ooh, girl, I just want you to stay. Love like ours is love.
Isn't it nice to talk about your feelings once in a while? To really just let it all off your chest? It's nice, right? It was fun doing that with Mark Duplass. I thank him again. Check out Blue Jay on Netflix. You really should. It's a wonderful, just sweet, beautiful movie. And Mark has many other projects that you can watch. Animals on HBO is something that he works on. He's an executive producer on that. So I thank him again. And guys, don't forget to rate and review the podcast. We're going to come out every single Tuesday, I promise you. And I got some great guests lined up. I'm going to be doing very soon. And then I got a couple good ones in the can that I'm going to release. So look forward to it. Rate and review. Oh, I'm going to be doing stand-up first of all, thank you to those of you in Denver who came out this past weekend. My God, I love that city. It is tremendous. Every time I go there, I think it can't get any more fun, and it does. Thank you to Danish and O'Neill for coming with me, Jackie Gold for opening up the show, Wendy and everyone that works over there at the Comedy Works. I mean, hands down, and I don't feel bad saying this, truly one of the best comedy clubs in the world. So thank you to everyone who came out this past weekend in Denver. Charlotte, you're up next this weekend. I'm at the Comedy Zone Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Come check it out. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 1 on Thursday. I'm going to be playing golf. We'll talk about that next week with some football people there. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I play golf. Deal with it, okay? We're going to talk about that a little bit. Not much, a little bit. But yes, Charlotte, come out next weekend. I hope to see you soon. Zany's in Nashville, first weekend in March. So Nashville, get your shit together, all right? Put down the beer and get over and get to the computer and start buying tickets. All right, guys, thank you very much. Again, Steve Rannazzisi, Hear Me This Book, and I'll see you next Tuesday.